I thought maintaining the Wong Warrior was a challenge. We're going to talk to somebody about maintaining F-16s today in the hangar. Welcome to In the Hangar. I'm Christy Wong.
And I'm Dan Milliken. In the Hangar is sponsored by Wingfield Aviation, centrally located in North Texas. Come from either coast. Get your airplane taken care of.
Today we're here with U.S. Air Force Sergeant Burgess.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, you're a maintainer.
Yes.
That can mean so many things. Let's just talk about what that is right now.
Sure. Well, I mean, like anything else, the aircraft need to be maintained, need to be kept in fighting status. So we have a number of different areas that you can be a maintainer on the F-16. There's avionics technician, which is what I am. There's dedicated crew chiefs, weapons, fuels. I mean, you name it, pretty much we have someone that's dedicated in that career field to maintain and take care of that aspect of the aircraft.
So as a maintainer, then, you guys work in a shop and you maintain the entire squadron or wing. So you'll work on a bunch of different aircraft, not just one?
Absolutely. So it could be any of a number of the F-16s we have in our fleet currently that will come up with varying issues that arise during pilot training. It could be a radar problem, could be a altimeter that's giving them a problem. You know, whatever the case may be, it pretty much comes out in the debrief, and we got to do what we can to keep it in a good, maintainable status.
What is your area of specialty for maintaining the aircraft?
So I'm an avionics technician. I deal with pretty much everything that keeps it in the air. Flight controls, guidance, radar threat warning, I mean, across the board, pilot interface, pretty much everything that the pilot needs to make this aircraft do what it's supposed to do, we handle in the avionics department.
And we're not just talking about like Garmins and stuff.
No.
We're talking about F-16s.
Absolutely.
So I just have so many questions about that. What is the most challenging, I guess, piece of avionics equipment that you see in this airplane?
Most challenging one. So the pilot that was out here earlier actually had his helmet with him, had the new Hobbit system. The update to the Hobbit was an interesting one itself. The integration of that specific part of the aircraft draws in everything else into it. So the pilot's able to look through the monocle and see a number of different things right in front of his face at any given point. And so the integration between that and the rest of the avionics suite was challenging to say the least, but it was very, very fun to do. Part of our job consists of not only maintaining but updating the fleet as well. So we're constantly staying, you know, the F-16 is a little long in the tooth, you know, she's been around a while, but she's very capable. So we do what we can to increase those capabilities whenever the time arises. And the Air Force will release new information, new updates, new equipment. We work with a lot of outside sources that bring in new stuff like the Hobbit that we integrate into our aircraft, and the pilots love it. They eat it up. They have a lot of fun with it.
What's the approximate age, like median age of the F-16 fleet?
Oh, across the board, it's kind of all over the place. Our models were built in 85,
Okay.
85 and 86. So, you know, 30 plus years across the board on most wings. A lot of units out there have the newer stuff. Ours are Block 32s. They've been around a while. But we have guys that transition in on a regular occurrence from other bases that have the newer Block 40s, Block 50 stuff that aren't quite as old as ours. But we still maintain a very capable rate with our mission capable stuff.
Well, speaking of keeping a mission capability rate high, is that a real challenge, especially with an aging fleet? Because I mean, I've heard stories like of, you know, especially operating in the desert with the sand and how they couldn't keep, you know, 30% of their aircraft up. What kind of struggle do you have with mission capability readiness?
It's always a struggle. I guess the biggest issue with, like you said, aging fleet, you know, you got 35-year-old wiring in an airplane, it's going to break. There's constantly struggles to keep that stuff repaired. Yep, absolutely. And on top of that, you know, budget cuts, which come from the top. You know, we don't always have the appropriate funding to buy all the fancy new equipment, buy all the new replacement parts, but we make do. And then, of course, you know, a lot of people have been hearing recently lack of personnel. Just
Wow.
nobody's enlisting and nobody's joining or necessarily staying around. So a lack of personnel as well definitely impacts that. But I can honestly say the people that the maintainers themselves, they make it happen no matter what. The mission is the mission. We got to do it. So I know from this last trip to Bagram when we deployed, we never missed a sortie. We were 100% mission capable the entire time we were there, as far as launch and recovery. We never missed a tasking order. So it's a credit to the maintainers, the guys I work with, guys and women I work with, to just how hard they push despite those issues of lack of funding, lack of equipment, things like that. They still maintain that tasking. It's pretty impressive.
I hear a lot of pride in your voice. I mean, is there something rewarding about doing what you do?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a very hands-on person anyway. I like to see the fruits of my labor, and there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing that jet take off. And you stand there and you can feel it in your chest, when it takes off and the afterburner and stuff. It is very rewarding to see firsthand what your accomplishments have done.
I want to know your story. How did you get into doing this?
I enlisted in 2001, straight out of high school. And
It's right before 9/11.
actually, yes, I was in boot camp during 9/11.
Boy, were you in for a surprise.
It was very surprising. We didn't know what was going on. There was a bunch of airmen running around, but I joined actually as a firefighter and didn't know much about aircraft at all. I was very mechanically inclined.
Then why did you join the Air Force?
That was a big question. Most of my family's prior military. So my dad was in the Army or Air National Guard in the 50s. My uncle was in the active Air Force in the 50s. My brother retired from the Army. My other brother retired from the Navy. The common consensus when I asked him is join the Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah, don't just go join the Air Force. Get it over with. And so when I first enlisted, I was a firefighter and loved it. But as a firefighter at an Air Force base, we dealt with aircraft also, and that was always my favorite part of it was getting to go out and talk to the crew chiefs and talk to the maintainers and climb inside these jets and these heavies and just check it out. It was so much fun. And so when I got out of active duty, civilian stuff for a little while, and then I saw a position open up in the reserves for an ART slot, Air Reserve Technician at Carswell Air Force Base. And I just thought, that's it. I got to go there. Whatever it takes to make this happen, I'm going to pursue it. So I jumped into that. Was, let's see, about 5 years in the making to get in. But eventually,
wow.
It took me about 5 years of constantly, I joined the reserves, but to get into that ART position, they were hard to come by. So it took me about 5 years to get it, but when I did, it was a enjoyable goal to finally accomplish.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So did you go into avionics? Like, did they tell you you're doing avionics, or was that something you got to choose?
I chose it personally based off the job that I wanted. So I did some research, hopped on the reserve website, which is very helpful. It breaks all of that stuff down for you. And I thought, what's the nerdiest thing that I can find on there? And sure enough, avionics popped up, and it sounded like fun. I like working with computers. I like working with wiring. I like deep troubleshooting, which avionics is constantly just buried in trying to find some random broke wire and miles of wiring in an aircraft.
Yeah.
And so it went right up my alley.
What are you going to do after Air Force? And I guess you said you got out for just a little bit. Were you still working in avionics? What did you do?
No, when I got out, I did random, just civilian jobs, whatever I could, piece together. Like most guys when they get out of active duty, trying to figure it all out. I'm going to stick around in the reserves as an avionics technician for a long time. I have no reason to leave. I plan on retiring from it eventually. I'm not a full-time reservist. I actually work for another company currently, but I do enjoy my 1 week in a month, my 2 weeks a year when we go TDY and we deploy. The TDYs are great. You can't knock that. The fighter jets get to go all the cool places. So I plan on doing the full 20 years.
What would you tell young adults that are looking at a path like this? What advice would you have for people who are looking into this?
Finish high school, do well, and just do your research. Figure out what you want to do, because the Air Force has a job for it. There's a job for everything out there in the Air Force. If you want to be a maintainer, if you want to be a pilot, if you just want to go work in a back shop somewhere on the line and deal with avionics equipments and do repairs, I mean, we have that as well. Pretty much anything that you can think of, there's a job for it. So just do the research and just graduate high school and keep your nose clean. It's that simple.
Do they ever let the maintainers sit in the second seat on the F-16s?
In the D model, yes.
in the D
It is a
model?
rare occasion. Some guys go their entire careers and don't get to.
Wow.
I was very fortunate. On our last trip to Alaska, actually, I got to fly through the Denali mountain range in the back seat.
Oh my
Wow.
And
goodness.
so, yes.
That
Yeah,
wasn't just a lap in the pattern.
No. It was incredible. We actually it was neat too, because we got approved for unrestricted climb straight out of the gate. So hit 10,000 feet at full afterburner in seconds. Just pulling G's straight out of the gate.
Wow.
And I did not challenge my pilot, I can tell you that.
He's referring to an earlier episode where I challenged to see if I can get in an F-16 if the pilot can make me throw it.
Yes, that is not a good challenge. I can tell you that firsthand.
So you're saying there's a chance I'm going to win this bet?
There's a strong chance you'll win that bet. I've seen seasoned fighter pilots kind of climb out of that back seat a little woozy. But it was incredible. Flying, out to the mountain range, right above the clouds, going out seeing the glaciers. It really brings into perspective what we do. And so, of course, we rash the pilots all the time. Why are you always breaking my airplane? You'll come through debrief. Every time you come through, it's broke. But at the same time, when getting to fly with one, it completely changes your perspective. And so it made me wish that I had possibly pursued being a pilot when I was younger. Absolutely. Just because it was so much fun.
You hear that, kids? Being a pilot is cool.
And it's never too late.
No.
Yeah, it's never too late.
Never too late. No, I actually looked a little while back at a couple of places and getting my private license, but
You should. You
it's-
totally should.
I think I might enjoy it. It's still on the books.
Yeah, I think you will enjoy it. I know you'll enjoy it.
So I heard a minute ago you said the pilots come back and you say, "Why are you breaking my plane?" Do the maintainers, do the crew chiefs, do you guys? It sounds like you're real possessive of the
Oh,
airplane.
yes. Oh, yes. It's like anything else. So the dedicated crew chief, he'll have his name on the side of the plane. I mean, it's
Okay.
right there on the other side of the pilot's name. As avionics technicians, we get the workload of what's broken on these planes. The crew chiefs do just as much as well. So do the other maintainers. But when it comes back, code 3, when it comes back broken, it's normally for us. So there's a lot of pride in what we do. We like to maintain and we like to keep them flying, and we take a lot of pride in the fact that they're mission capable so often. But yeah, it's definitely okay, I'm letting you borrow this plane for the next hour and a half. Please.
The pilots love that.
Please don't break it. Please don't. But yeah, it's enjoyable. You can't fault them. They get up there and they get to play in a race car for a couple hours
In the
and
sky.
Yeah. And so when they come back, it's definitely that fun banter that we get to give them a hard time when they come through debrief.
This may be a silly question because you just told us about some really cool experiences, but do you have any other stories of really cool things that you've gotten to do as a maintainer?
Oh yeah, go on. We recently had an extended, I guess you could say TUI, extended trip to Romania. And so we went and spent 3 months in Romania with the Romanian Air Force, flying with them. The MiGs that they have over there, and doing different training missions with them, and getting to experience their culture. And oh wow, it's totally different. But getting to experience their maintenance and their maintainers firsthand, and talking with those guys, rubbing elbows a little bit. And that's like I was saying earlier, the best part about being with the fighter unit, being a maintainer, is those jets have to go to these places so the pilots can get training. Guess who gets to go along with them? And so we had a blast for 3 months. I got to go see Dracula's castle and all this cool stuff. And it's because of maintenance. And Monday through Friday we work on the planes. If we have a weekend tasking, we'll go out there and work on the planes. We keep them flying so that the pilots can get the training that they need to be lethal whenever the time comes. And that's just a beautiful perk that comes with it, I guess.
All right, well, very good. Thank you, Sergeant Burgess, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you
and
so much for your
sharing.
service.
It's good to hear about the maintaining part of, I mean, because we do hear the pilots, and I guess they're the visible rock stars, but you guys really keep it going. Without you guys, the pilots aren't going anywhere.
Maybe we try.
So,
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and share.
and we'll see you next time in the hangar.